Assalamu alaikum to all of my students. Hope you all are fine. Today I am going to take the concept of shift of demand curve and market equilibrium. Shift of demand curve and market equilibrium. There are two cases in this concept: increase in demand and decrease in demand. First, we will take increase in demand. As I show you in previous lecture, what we call equilibrium price. This is y, this is 0, this x, this is price, this is quantity supply, this is demand curve has a negative slope, this is supply curve has a positive slope, supply curve has a positive slope, S. This is the price determined by the demand and supply. P, this is Q. Now, what we have to read? What will happen if increase in demand, if quantity demand increase? What will happen to demand curve? When increase, basically this increase in demand takes place, as I have shown you function. Dx is a function of price holiday, taste, preferences. Then there is a shift of demand curve. Shift of demand curve takes place when other factors change, not change in price, but change due to change in other factors. There is demand curve will shift. I will show. Demand curve will shift rightwards due to the increase in demand. When quantity demand increase, definitely demand curve will shift rightwards. What will happen to shift of demand curve? Definitely quantity demand will increase from Q to Q1. This will lead to increase in price P to P1. Means excess in demand is due to increase in quantity demand, it will lead to excess in quantity demand. This excess in quantity demand, this portion, excess in quantity demand. Due to excess demand, definitely this will lead to rise in price above. Price will increase price above. When price increases, this will definitely lead to increase in quantity supply. Quantity supply will increase. There is a movement of supply curve, the quantity supply will increase. And due to increase in price, this will lead to increase in quantity supply. I will repeat. When demand curve shifts rightwards, it's a rightward shift of demand curve. Rightward shift of demand curve. Means when demand curve shifts rightward, what will be the impact? Impact will be, it will lead to excess in demand. As quantity demand increase, Q to Q1, this will lead to increase in quantity demanded. Not only quantity demand, excess in quantity demand. Excess in quantity demand will be, impact will be, it will lead to increase in price. When price increases, definitely there will be increase in quantity supply. Quantity supply will increase from equilibrium E, this E1. When there is a movement of supply curve from E to E1, quantity supply will increase. Shift of demand curve, I will write here. Shift of demand curve. Increase we call shift of demand curve. What will happen when there is increase in demand? This will lead to shift in demand curve, rightward shift in demand curve. This will lead to excess in, I will write here, excess in demand. Rightward shift leads to excess in demand. Excess in demand will, what will be impact of excess in demand? It will lead to increase in price. I will write in short form, increase in price. Increase in price, quantity supply will increase. This will lead to quantity supply. Meaning what? Now what we know from this, due to increase in quantity demanded, this will lead to excess in demand. Excess in demand. This portion, excess in demand. This excess in demand will lead to increase in price. When price increase, definitely there is a positive relation between price and quantity supply. When price increase, this will lead to increase in quantity supply. There is a upward movement of supply from E to E1. Means shift or demand करो और shift or demand को lead to change in equilibrium E to E1. This will lead to excess in demand. Excess in demand will lead to increase in price. This will definitely increase in quantity supply. Now, what you have to remember from in first case, you have to remember when demand curve shifts, due to other factors, price at its existing price, definitely shifting demand curve will lead to excess in demand. Not only excess in demand, but it will lead to increase in price. The effect of increasing price will lead to definite change in quantity supply. Quantity supply will increase from E to E1. In second case, yes, decrease in demand. Second case, decrease in demand. Decrease in demand, or we could backward shift of demand करो for understanding purpose. Backward shift of demand करो. Demand. What will be the impact of backward shift of demand करो? All backward shift of demand. This is y. This is 0. This is x. This is price. This is quantity. As I show, this is demand करो. This is supply करो. As supply curve has a positive slope, demand curve has a negative slope. This is the price determined by the price and determine the demand and supply. This is the price P Q1 P1 PQ. Now what will happen when demand curve shifts backward like this? Leftward shift of demand. What will happen? D dash. Definitely it will lead to fall in. Definitely will fall in price. Not only fall in price, this will lead to deficit in demand. Quantity demand will fall Q to Q1. Price will fall P to P1. This is deficit. Deficit in demand. This we call excess in demand. Excess in demand. Meaning this we call deficit in demand. Deficit in demand will definitely lead to fall in price. Price follows to P1. Not only fall in price, this fall in price will definitely lead to decline in quantity. There will be decline in quantity supply. Here is rise in quantity supply, increase in quantity supply. Here will be decrease in quantity supply. As price falls, this is a positive relation between price and quantity supply. When price follows, this will lead to fall in quantity supply. And there will be excess in supply. Simply, there will be excess in deficit in demand, excess in supply. And there will be competition between the suppliers. In this situation, there will be supply competition between the sellers. And they will try to, in excess supply condition, they will try to fall its price. When price falls, definitely quantity demand will increase. Quantity demand will increase. I will write, it is second one. This will lead to deficit. Deficit in, this will lead to deficit in, yes. Deficit in, yes, demand. Deficit in demand. How? As simply when, yes, price, it will lead to deficit. I will write simply price will fall. Opposite, quantity demand will, when price falls, quantity demand will rise. It will lead to quantity supply will fall. There's a positive relation between price and quantity supply. When price falls, quantity supply falls. When price falls, quantity demand rises. So as we read in law of demand and law and supply. Law and supply shows the positive relation between price and quantity supply. Law of demand shows the inverse between price and quantity demand. When price falls, this will lead to increase in quantity demand. There's a deficit in demand. To correct a deficit demand, quantity demand should be increased. This will lead to fall in quantity supply. This was the second case. You can easily write this. Now, to conclude line, what will be the effect of increase in demand? What will be the effect of decrease in demand? Simply, you can write, in case of increase in demand, there will be excess in demand. Excess in demand will lead to increase in price. When price increases, this will definitely lead to increase in quantity supply will increase. Quantity supply will, this situation will continue till we will reach equilibrium point E1. This equilibrium. Similar in second case, as equilibrium change from E to E1 below, return backward shift of demand curve. Due to backward shift of demand curve, definitely there was a deficit in demand. When deficit in demand happens, definitely this will lead to decline in price. Decline in price will definitely, when price falls, this will fall in price. When this fall in price and supply, there will be excess of supply, simply excess of supply. To correct excess supply, in this situation, excess supply, definitely this will lead to fall in price. Fall in price will lead to increase in quantity demand. There is an inverse relation between price and quantity. When price falls, quantity demand will increase. This will lead to correct the deficit supply. I will write 2 lines more related to this concept for understanding purpose. What we read today. In first, what you have to write. Yes, shift or demand will lead to excess in demand. Excess demand. To correct excess demand, simply price. This leads to rise in price. Rise in price leads to increase in quantity supply. Yes, rise in quantity supply. And we can easily write as extension of supply and contraction of demand corresponding to its existing price will continue till we will reach point where quantity demand is equal to quantity supply. That is the new equilibrium point. New equilibrium at E1. Second, I will not repeat this. He आपको write down करना है in second case में. But you have to write down. Yes, extension of demand. Yes, and contraction of supply. Yes, contraction of supply corresponding to its existing price. Will continue. We will reach point where quantity demand equal to quantity supply. That is new equilibrium price. That's E1. New equilibrium price E1. New price E1. These are the two extreme cases. Now we have to read. Yes, shift of supply curve, forward shift and backward shift. That I will take in next class. If you have any doubt related to this concept, it is a little bit concept. You can message me or comment me. I will try to explain it brief furthermore, so that you can get easily understood. For simplicity, if you have understood, I have in previous lecture I discussed schedule. Yes, equilibrium, market equilibrium schedule. If you focus on schedule, that happens in these two cases, which I tell in schedule. How to correct excess demand, how to correct excess supply. I will conclude this lecture here. Till that time, you have to wait and watch. I will be returned back very soon. Hope for the best. Take care. Thanks. Have a nice day.